The night was deep. The humidity of August hung in the air like an invisible hand squeezing every breath. On the edge of the cotton fields known as Firefly Plantation in Alabama, a woman slipped quietly out of one of the slave cabins. In her hands, she clutched a bundle of cloth that trembled slightly. She moved quickly toward the forest. Dried leaves crackled beneath her feet, but she was more aware of her own heartbeat than those sounds. She glanced back once at the cabin she had just left. Darkness reigned there, but she knew that with morning, that darkness would shatter. Deep in the woods, she knelt beneath an old oak tree. Opening the bundle, she revealed a newborn baby girl, sleeping with eyes closed. The woman kissed the infant's forehead and whispered in her ear, "Your name is Lily. Remember, you are Lily. I am your mother, my name is Pearl. I love you more than anything." The baby's eyes opened. Even in the darkness, they gleamed as if carrying a light within them. Pearl saw that light, and her heart sank. She knew these eyes were dangerous. These eyes would see too much, remember too much. And in this world, where the child had been born, remembering was the greatest crime. Behind her, dogs began to bark. Pearl quickly closed the bundle and pressed her child to her chest. She knew escape was impossible, but she also knew she had to try. 12 years earlier, when Pearl herself was a child, she had first been brought to the Firefly Plantations. She remembered her mother's face only as a blur. A woman whose eyes were always moist and whose hands were calloused from cotton stalks. Pearl was 7 years old when her mother was sold. Up meant north. To some other plantation, some other unknown place. Pearl never understood why her mother was taken away. She cried, she screamed, but no one listened. The plantation owner, Mr. Thomas Ellington, glanced at her once and said, "She can start working now." And so Pearl's childhood ended. Firefly Plantations held about 90 slaves. Mr. Ellington was not a cruel master, at least compared to others. He didn't have his slaves whipped, but he kept them hungry. He didn't beat them, but he broke their families. His cruelty wasn't something that shouted, it was a quiet, daily savagery. The overseer was Mr. Coleman. They said he had never smiled. His face was like stone, his eyes cold as ice. He spoke little, but his silence was more terrifying than anything. When he rode into the fields on his horse, every slave's back would bend, every head would lower. Pearl learned to pick cotton. Her small hands would quickly snap the cotton bolls and drop them into her sack. She worked from sunrise to sunset. The sun burned her skin, but she kept working. At night, when she returned to the cabin, her fingers would be cracked, her back aching. 10 or 12 people lived together in the cabin. Pearl had no one of her own, no mother, no father. She slept alone, pressed against the wall. Sometimes at night she would wake and wonder where her mother was now. Was she alive? Did she remember her? Then tears would flow, but she made no sound. Because the overseers would come if they heard crying. Pearl was 16 when she learned she was to become a mother. A child grew in her belly, a tiny soul. The child's father was Jack, another slave who cared for the horses. Jack's eyes held a strange light, as if sometimes he traveled far away. He loved Pearl deeply. But Jack knew that a baby meant trouble. Mr. Ellington liked his slaves to reproduce, because more slaves meant more wealth. But it also meant the child could be sold at any time, separated from its mother. When Lily was born, Pearl looked at her for the first time and saw in her eyes the same light she had once seen in Jack's. Even brighter. Lily's eyes were deep, large, and they held something peculiar. They saw everything, remembered everything. Pearl held Lily to her chest and wept. They weren't tears of joy. They were tears of fear. She knew that in this world, children with eyes didn't last long. Lily began to grow. She was different from other children. She spoke little, observed much. When other children played in the fields, Lily would sit in a corner and watch the birds. She listened to their calls, watched their flight. When she turned 5, she had to start working in the fields. Her job was to bring water. All day she would carry a clay pot through the fields, giving water to the workers. She was small, but her legs were strong. She never tired. One day, Mr. Coleman noticed her. Lily was giving water, and her eyes were looking at the cotton fields, but not really seeing them. She was somewhere else. Mr. Coleman stopped his horse. "What's your name?" Lily looked at him. There was no fear in her eyes, only a kind of silence. "Lily," she said. Mr. Coleman stared. He had seen many slave children, but never eyes like hers. They were strange. She was so small, but someone older seemed to live in those eyes. He rode away, but he remembered Lily. That night, Pearl said to Lily, "Daughter, your eyes see too much. But you must learn to close them. When they look at you, look down. When they speak to you, be silent. Understand?" Lily nodded. She understood. She always understood. At night, when everyone slept, Jack would tell Lily stories. He told her about Africa, where his grandfather had come from. He told her about lions, about elephants, and about a river so vast its banks couldn't be seen. Lily would ask, "Father, will we ever go there?" Jack would fall silent. Then he would say, "Maybe, daughter. Maybe." One night, Jack told Lily, "I'll tell you a secret. I can read." Lily's eyes widened. "How?" "I had a book once, very old. A white man taught me, long ago, when I was small. That man died, and the book disappeared. But what I learned, I remember." Jack gave Lily her first lesson. He drew a letter in the dirt with a stick. "This is A." Lily looked and remembered. But learning to read was dangerous. Mr. Ellington said a literate slave was a dangerous slave. And he was right. Because one who can read can think. And one who can think can never truly be a slave. Lily was 8 when she was sent to the big house. Mr. Ellington's wife, Mrs. Ellington, had fallen ill. She needed someone to stay with her, to care for her. And Lily was chosen. The big house was another world. Here the floors were clean, there was plenty of food, there were carpets. Lily saw a mirror for the first time and was frightened by her own reflection. She thought another girl was looking at her. Mrs. Ellington was a kind woman, but her eyes always held sadness. She used laudanum and often lay in a daze. Lily's job was to sit with her, give her water, and hold her hand when she cried. In the big house, Lily saw 2 children, Mary and Thomas Jr. Mary was 10, Thomas was 8. They played with Lily, but Lily knew she wasn't their friend. She was their slave. Mary would often ask, "Why don't you talk?" Lily would remain silent. She remembered her mother's lesson, "When they speak to you, be silent." One day, Lily was cleaning the big house when she found a book. It lay in Mary's room, forgotten. Lily picked it up and turned its pages. She was astonished. On these pages were the same marks her father had taught her. She could recognize them. She could read. She read slowly, "Once upon a time." It was a fairy tale. Lily had never seen a fairy, but as she read the story, a new world opened before her eyes. At that moment, Mary entered the room. "What are you doing?" Lily tried to hide the book, but it was too late. Mary had seen it. She came closer and looked at Lily. "You can read." Lily lowered her head. She knew this was a crime. But Mary smiled. "That's wonderful. No one teaches me to read. Mother is always sick, and father says girls don't need much education. Will you teach me?" Lily looked at her. There was no deception in Mary's eyes, only a child's innocence. Lily nodded. And so a secret pact was formed. At night, when everyone slept, Mary and Lily would sit together and read. Mary learned from Lily, and Lily learned from Mary. September brought a great storm. The sky turned black, the wind blew so hard that trees were uprooted. Rain fell with such force that the cotton fields disappeared under water. In the big house, Mrs. Ellington grew frightened. She began to scream, and had to be given more laudanum. Mary was crying, and Thomas Jr. hid under his bed. Lily stood at the window, watching the storm. There was no fear in her eyes, only a strange light. For the first time, she was seeing something powerful. So powerful that even Mr. Ellington was helpless before it. After the storm, great destruction lay everywhere. The cotton crop was ruined. The slave cabins had blown away. Many people were homeless. But within this destruction lay another tragedy. When Lily went to the slave quarters after the storm, she saw that her father was not there. Jack had been taken. Where? Lily asked. Someone answered, sold. Mr. Ellington needed money, after the crop was ruined. Lily said nothing. Silently, she returned to the big house. That night, she shed no tears. She simply lay facing the wall and stayed awake until morning. Now Lily became completely silent. She spoke, but only when necessary. The light in her eyes grew deeper, like a lamp burning within. Mrs. Ellington's health worsened day by day. She died when Lily was 10. After her death, an emptiness settled over the big house. Mr. Ellington became even colder, and Mary even more lonely. One day, Mr. Ellington called Lily. He sat in his room, and in his hand was Mary's book. The book from which Mary and Lily had learned to read. Mr. Ellington said, "This book was found in your room. Mary says it's hers, but I know you were reading it." Lily's breath stopped. She looked down. "You know that reading is forbidden for you." "Yes, sir," Lily whispered. Mr. Ellington was silent for a moment. Then he said, "Mary says you taught her to read. She speaks highly of you." Lily said nothing. Mr. Ellington placed the book on the table. "You may go." Lily left, but she knew this was only a temporary reprieve. She had seen something in Mr. Ellington's eyes that she had seen before, calculation. He was deciding what to do with her. That night, Lily spoke with her mother, Pearl. Pearl was old now, her hair white, her back bent. But her eyes still held the same light that shone in Lily's. "Mother, I can't stay here," Lily said. Pearl looked at her. "I know, daughter. I'm going to run away." Pearl nodded. "It's dangerous. Many have run, but few have made it." "But some have," Lily said. Pearl was silent. Then she said, "Your father taught you much. He taught you to read, and he taught you things I never knew. You are his daughter, Lily. You carry his spirit within you." She took an amulet from around her neck. It was a small leather pouch tied to a cord. "This was your father's. Inside is soil from Africa, brought by his grandfather. He wanted you to have it." Lily took the amulet and placed it around her own neck. One night in November, when the moon was hidden, Lily ran. She knew the right path led north. She knew she had to travel by night and hide by day. She knew she needed to walk through water to fool the dogs. She had stolen some food from the big house, and Pearl had given her a blanket. She moved into the dark forest. The first night, she walked far. Her feet became blistered, but she didn't stop. At dawn, she hid in a thick bush. There she lay all day, stifling her sobs, making no sound. The second night, hunger came. Her food was gone. She ate wild berries, but her stomach remained empty. The third night, she heard dogs barking in the distance. She froze. She knew that if the dogs found her, she would be taken back, and then, she didn't want to think. She reached a riverbank. The water was cold, but she entered it and walked along in the water. The dogs' voices faded, then disappeared. Days passed. Lily lost count of how many. She walked only at night now, slept during the day. Her body grew weak, her feet swollen. But she kept walking. One day, she approached a small village. She saw black people working in a field. She thought perhaps they were slaves too. But then she noticed they moved freely, with no overseer. This must be a northern state, where slavery was illegal. Lily asked a woman for water. The woman looked at her and pitied her condition. She gave Lily food and took her to her home. "Where have you come from?" the woman asked. Lily told her. She told everything, about her mother, about her father, about the big house, and about the night she ran. The woman listened and wept. Lily began to live in that village. The woman of the house, whose name was Mrs. Wilson, was a free black woman. Her husband had gone to Canada for work. She took Lily in. Here, for the first time, Lily understood what freedom meant. She could go anywhere, do anything. No one commanded her, no one could beat her. But her mind always returned to her mother. Pearl was still at Firefly, still a slave. Lily knew she couldn't go back, but she also knew she would never forget. Mrs. Wilson sent Lily to school. Lily could already read, but at school she learned much more. She learned to write, to do arithmetic, to study history. She discovered that Africa was a continent, not a country, and that many civilizations had existed there. In 1861, civil war began. Lily was now 16, a young woman. She lived with Mrs. Wilson and helped her. News of the war came from far away. Sometimes they heard the Union Army was winning, sometimes the Confederacy. But Lily cared about only one thing, her mother. In 1863, President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It meant that slaves in rebellious states were free. But Firefly was in Alabama, a rebellious state, and the war still raged there. Lily decided to return. She knew it was dangerous, but she could wait no longer. Lily began her journey. She was not alone now but traveled with the Union Army. She worked for the army, caring for the wounded, and moved south. In 1865, the war ended. The Union had won, and slavery was abolished. Lily reached Alabama. The landscape had changed. Many plantations lay in ruins, fields abandoned. People wandered everywhere, some free, some still confused. When Lily reached Firefly, she saw the big house still standing, but in poor condition. Windows were broken, doors hung askew. She went to the slave quarters. The cabins were empty, or occupied by strangers. Then she saw an old woman, sitting under a tree. She approached, and her breath caught. It was her mother. Pearl was alive. Pearl looked at Lily and didn't recognize her. So many years had passed, and Lily was no longer a child. But when Lily spoke her name, recognition dawned in Pearl's eyes. Lily? My Lily? They embraced and wept. Pearl kissed Lily's face, smelled her hair, held her hands. I thought you were dead, Pearl said. So many years, no word. Mother, I'm alive. I'm free, Lily said. And now you're free too. Pearl nodded. Yes, daughter. But what does freedom mean? I have nothing. No home, no food, no money. Lily said, we have each other, mother. And we have father's amulet. That night, as they sat together, Pearl told Lily a secret. Daughter, I never told you. But now the time has come. Lily listened intently. Mr. Ellington, he wasn't just your master. He was your father. Lily felt the ground shift beneath her. She looked at her mother, unable to speak. Pearl wiped her tears and said, Jack wasn't your father. He loved you deeply, but he wasn't your real father. Mr. Ellington forced me. I was very young, and I couldn't resist. Lily remained silent. Many thoughts swirled in her mind. The man she had feared, whose eyes held calculation, was her father. But then she thought, Jack, who taught her to read, who told her stories of Africa, whose eyes held light, he was her true father. Not by blood, but by spirit. Lily took her mother's hand. Mother, you are my mother. Jack was my father. Forget everything else. Lily and Pearl traveled north. They returned to Mrs. Wilson, who was still alive and welcomed them. For the first time, Pearl understood what freedom meant. She could go anywhere, do anything. No one could stop her. Lily began to teach. She taught children who had never been to school. She taught them what her father had taught her, that reading and writing are freedom, that knowledge is the greatest power. Years passed. Lily grew older, married, had children. Pearl grew ancient, but still lived. One day, a letter arrived. It was from Mary Ellington, now Mary White, living in the north. She had found Lily. In the letter, she wrote, "Dear Lily, I never forgot you. You taught me to read, and you taught me the meaning of friendship. I know there is much between us, many bad memories, many wounds. But I want to see you. I want to tell you that I changed my life because of you. I fought with my father and gave part of my inheritance to freed slaves. I learned from you what humanity means." Lily read the letter and thought for a long time. Then she wrote back, "Dear Mary, I never forgot you either. You were the first white person who treated me as human. Yes, there is much between us. But perhaps now it is time we forgive each other." Lily died in 1920. She was old by then, her children and grandchildren around her. Her last wish was to be buried with her father's amulet. The amulet that came from Africa, that belonged to her grandfather, then to Jack, then to Pearl, and finally to Lily. The amulet that told the story of generations, that witnessed all their sufferings, that remembered all their tears. Today, the Firefly plantations no longer exist. That place has become a small town. People live there, work, laugh, cry. They don't know that 90 slaves once lived on this land, that a girl named Lily once lived here, a girl whose eyes held a strange light. But sometimes, when the night is deep and the wind blows, old people say they can hear a child's laughter. And if you look carefully, you might see a small girl standing in the cotton fields, her eyes holding a light that never dims. This light is the memory of forgotten lives, the story of millions of children whose childhood was stolen, whose mothers were sold, whose fathers were killed. This light is their spirit that never dies, their voice that never falls silent. And as long as this light remains, their stories live on. Lily's story reminds us that history is not only about great events and famous people. History is about millions of ordinary people whose lives were filled with suffering, love, loss, and hope. Slavery was one of America's darkest periods. Millions of Africans and their descendants were enslaved simply because their skin color was different. They were bought and sold like animals, their families broken, their identity stolen. But they never lost hope. They kept their culture alive, told their stories, taught their children what freedom means. And when they had the chance, they ran, they fought, and eventually, they won. Lily's story is one of millions. It won't be found in any book, inscribed on any monument. But it is as real as the tears shed on this earth, as real as the prayers whispered in those nights, as real as the light that still shines in Lily's eyes. And as long as we remember these stories, those people will never die. They will remain with us, reminding us what humanity is, and what it should never be again. This is Lily's story. A girl born into slavery, who lived free, and who will always be remembered. Pearl helped her. She cooked, cared for the children, and sometimes told them stories. She took the amulet from around her neck. Pearl looked at it and wept.